The Millionaire's triplets were blind, until the old beggar changed everything. The millionaire spent 3 years believing his triplets were trapped in darkness, until a homeless woman stepped into their path and exposed a truth even his richest doctors hid. When the bandages came off, the girls didn't run to their father. They ran to the beggar who saved their sight. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. The triplets were born into a world of shadows, long before they understood what shadows were. 3 tiny blonde girls, identical, fragile, wrapped in hospital blankets, opened their eyes for the first time and saw nothing. They didn't track light. They didn't flinch at movement. They didn't blink when a doctor waved a finger in front of them. The Hale family name meant something in the city. Michael Hale owned one of the biggest tech firms in the region. People thought money protected you from pain. Money didn't protect him from this. Every specialist he hired, big-name pediatric neurologists, elite ophthalmologists, international consultants, told him the same thing. Permanent optic nerve damage. They will never see. Michael's world collapsed. He had been ready to give them everything. Schools, tutors, the childhood he never had. But what they needed most, he couldn't buy. The girls grew into toddlers with no sense of direction. They walked into walls. They tripped over toys. They screamed whenever their world shifted too quickly. They clung to the nanny's clothes because her voice was the only compass they understood. And Michael, despite loving them more fiercely than anything in existence, smothered them with fear. He installed padded walls. He covered every sharp edge. He refused to take them outside unless 2 adults were present. He memorized every cry, pain, fear, hunger, confusion, because their faces couldn't tell him anything. He hated that his wealth made people lie to him. He hated that the best doctors refused to take risks. He hated that every night when the triplets crawled blindly onto his lap and touched his face, they were seeing him with hands instead of eyes. But what he hated most was the feeling that someone, somewhere, could have helped and simply didn't. On the corner of 5th Street, beside a stack of cardboard and an old blanket, sat a woman the city had forgotten. Gray beanie, dark heavy coat, fingerless gloves, graying braids, skin weathered by cold nights and cruel years. Her name was Dr. Elena Vance, though no one who passed her would ever guess doctor. Before she fell apart, hospitals used to fly her across states to operate on infants other surgeons were too afraid to touch. She spent 2 decades saving children's sight, until the night she lost her own family. Her husband and daughter were killed by a drunk driver. Elena survived the crash physically, but her mind never healed. She spiraled, missed court dates, lost her license, lost her job, stopped paying rent, stopped answering calls from colleagues, stopped wanting to live in a world her family was no longer part of. She ended up on the streets, not because she lacked skill, but because she lost hope. Still, old instincts never die. Even sitting on concrete, she noticed every child who walked by. The slight squint, the uneven eye tracking, the glare in the pupils, the subtle clues only someone like her could recognize. But she never expected to see 3 identical girls with the exact same abnormal reflection. That morning, the nanny pushed the triplets past her as usual, trying to keep them calm as they reached for sounds they couldn't see. Elena wasn't paying attention until sunlight hit their eyes at the perfect angle, and she froze. A white glow flashed inside the girl's pupils. Not random, not meaningless, not just blindness. A glow she had spent her entire career diagnosing. Leukocoria, the classic sign of congenital cataracts. Her heartbeat slammed against her ribs. She stood so abruptly the nanny gasped. "Stop! Stop!" Elena shouted, voice cracking. "Their eyes. Those girls. Please stop the stroller." The nanny yanked the handle back, startled. "Ma'am, please don't come close." Elena ignored the warning. Her voice shook, but not with anger, with urgency, precision, the tone of someone who spent years giving orders in operating rooms. "I'm not here to hurt them. Look at their pupils. The glow. That only happens when light bounces off a clouded lens. If their optic nerves were dead, there would be no reflection at all." The nanny blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" Elena swallowed hard. "I was a pediatric ophthalmologist. The best hospitals called me when babies were born like this. Whoever diagnosed these girls didn't run the proper retinal tests. They assumed nerve damage because it was the safest diagnosis. The nanny stiffened. I need to get them home. No, please listen, Elena begged, voice cracking with desperation. These girls can be helped. They're not hopeless. They just need someone brave enough to intervene. But the nanny pushed the stroller away. Elena's trembling hands reached out helplessly. Don't walk away. Not again. Not another child. Her voice broke. Her past bled through her words. She had lost her daughter, but she wasn't going to lose these three. Not if she could help it. But what happened when the father himself came face to face with this homeless woman? You won't believe what she told him. Later that day, Michael came down himself to meet the nanny at the car. All three girls were fussing, crying, confused, reaching toward the sidewalk where Elena still sat. He noticed the nanny looked shaken. Before he could ask why, Elena stood up again, her eyes locked onto his. Recognition hit her instantly. Michael Hale, she whispered without thinking. He narrowed his eyes. Do I know you? I know, she said breathlessly. But I know you. Your photo hangs on the donor wall at St. Renata's Hospital. You funded the neonatal wing. Michael stiffened. That wasn't public small talk. Only hospital staff or visitors knew that. Elena stepped closer, not aggressively, but with the steady posture of a surgeon. Your daughters, they do not have nerve damage. Michael's jaw tightened. Don't speak about my children. I must, Elena said. Their pupils reflect light. Optic nerve damage does not reflect. Someone misdiagnosed them or was too afraid to treat them. I've seen this my whole career. Wealthy families terrify surgeons. They choose the diagnosis that requires no surgery, so there is no risk. Michael stared at her, stunned. Elena took a shaky breath. Mr. Hale, they have congenital cataracts. They need surgery, and they can see. They can see if someone just tries. One of the triplets suddenly reached her little hand toward Elena's voice. Michael swallowed hard, throat trembling. For the first time since their birth, he felt the faintest spark of hope and the crushing weight of fear that he had failed them. Elena whispered, tears filling her eyes. Please don't let them stay in the dark. Not when they don't have to. Michael didn't breathe. His heart thudded painfully against his ribs. He had spent millions trying to save his daughters from darkness. Yet a woman sitting on the sidewalk was telling him the doctors he trusted had abandoned them. He lifted one of the triplets carefully. Her small fingers brushed his cheek, searching, always searching. Her eyes flickered toward Elena's voice, a direct responsive movement, something she had never done before. Michael's voice cracked. Why? Why didn't anyone tell me this? Elena lowered her gaze. Because no one wanted to operate on a billionaire's babies. What the hell does that mean? He snapped. She looked him dead in the eye. It means if something went wrong, even if it wasn't the surgeon's fault, the media would explode, investors panic, hospital boards collapse, careers end. When a rich family is involved, the safest decision is to do nothing. Her words cut deeper than any accusation. Your daughters were labeled irreversible because it protects the hospital, she continued, not because it's true. Michael felt sick, betrayed, used. He thought wealth protected his daughters. Instead, it suffocated their chances. He moved fast. Get in the car, he ordered the nanny, voice shaking. We're going to St. Renata's now. Elena stared at him. They won't listen to me. I'm nothing now. You're the only one I'm listening to, Michael said sharply. You started this, you finish it. St. Renata's was everything Elena remembered. Cold hallways, polished floors, framed smiling babies cured by surgeries she once performed. She stood there in her tattered coat, feeling like a ghost returning to her former life. The moment they entered the pediatric ophthalmology wing, two doctors rushed over. Mr. Hale, we weren't expecting. No, Michael said, his voice like steel. You're damn right you weren't expecting me. He pointed at the triplets. Explain to me how these children have dead optic nerves when a woman sitting on the street saw signs you ignored. The doctors exchanged panicked glances. Elena stepped forward, her tone shifting back into the authority she once carried effortlessly. Shine the penlight. Do it. One doctor hesitated. Michael's voice dropped into a dangerous whisper. Do what she says. They shined the light. The reflection appeared instantly, bright, unmistakable. The younger doctor stiffened. The older one exhaled sharply, shoulders collapsing. They both knew what it meant. Michael grabbed the front of the older doctor's coat. You told me they were blind forever. The man swallowed. Mr. Hale, the surgery is extremely delicate. Infants are complicated. If anything went wrong, Elena cut in harshly. You'd lose donors, reputation, and your board seat. Isn't that right? Silence. A guilty, suffocating silence. Elena continued, voice tight with anger. You didn't avoid surgery because it was risky. You avoided it because it was politically inconvenient. The younger doctor whispered, we didn't want to lose everything if complications occurred. Michael's hands trembled. You were willing to let my daughters live in darkness to protect your image? The guilt in their eyes said everything. Michael turned to Elena. What do I need to do? Elena took a breath. You need a surgeon who isn't afraid. One who cares more about children than headlines. Is that you? He asked quietly. Her eyes filled. I can't operate. My license is gone. But I can assess, guide, and make sure the right hands touch their eyes. Her voice cracked. Let me help them. I could not save my daughter, but I can save yours. Michael didn't hesitate. Then you're with us. The doctors scrambled, pulling charts, contacting surgical units, ordering imaging. For the first time in years, the hospital moved with urgency instead of avoidance, because now the truth was exposed. Elena stood behind the glass as the surgical team prepared the triplets, one by one. Her hands pressed against the window. Her eyes never left them. Michael stood beside her, unable to sit, unable to blink. His entire world, every dollar he ever earned, every mistake he ever made, meant nothing compared to the three tiny figures on those tables. The lead surgeon approached Elena through the intercom. You were right. Severe congenital cataracts, fully removable. Michael nearly collapsed. The surgeries began. Hours passed like years. Elena whispered instructions through the microphone, subtle corrections only someone with decades of experience would know. The surgeons listened. The team finished the final procedure. We'll remove the bandages in a few days, the surgeon said. But I believe they will see. Michael turned away, covering his face with both hands. His shoulders shook. Elena placed a trembling hand on his arm. You did right, she whispered. He shook his head. No, I'm 3 years late. 3 days later, the triplets sat on a low hospital bench, fidgeting in their little red dresses. Nurses gathered quietly, knowing they were about to witness something rare. Elena knelt in front of them. You'll feel the air on your face once the bandage comes off. Don't be scared. Michael stood behind her, hands gripping the chair, terrified and hopeful at the same time. They removed the bandages. The girls blinked rapidly, confused, overwhelmed. Then one of them stared straight ahead and gasped. Her eyes widened, truly widened, as her brain processed something it had never done before. Another girl followed, then the third. They saw colors, faces, light, movement, life. And when they fully understood who the woman in front of them was, the woman whose voice had comforted them in the street, they broke into identical smiles and toddled toward her, arms outstretched. Michael watched, stunned. They weren't running to him. They were running to her, to the homeless woman who saved them when the world's richest doctors wouldn't. Elena caught them in her arms, sobbing. You can see. You can really see. The nurses cried. Michael covered his mouth as tears streamed down his face. For the first time in their lives, the triplets looked directly into someone's eyes. And the first person they ever truly saw was the beggar woman the world had thrown away. If this moment shocked you, imagine what happens next. Like, comment, and subscribe to Storysphere, because stories like this remind us that heroes don't always wear white coats. Would you trust a stranger with everything you love?